Ignoring what's going on in the game right now at the start, these wards, I really don't like the position of them. This vision ward, it doesn't give you any vision of this area really. It gives you good vision of the rune and the surrounding area, but this ward should really be in this bush here. So you get vision of the rune, and you also get vision of this entire area. If someone wants to come around the side in this bush in the lane to gank you, the vision you have now does not cover that, and you can easily get ganked in that lane. But this ward is actually in a pretty bad position as well. If you want to de-ward this, you place the ward here. It covers these three areas that I'm highlighting, which are the most common three warding spots. A lot of offlaners also place their ward in this little bush here to gain vision of the rune, so you can place that sentry to de-ward it. Similarly, they will block the easy lane camp and the three most common warding spots to block the camp I'm highlighting here. So I think this is one of the first mistakes you really made in this game. When you can see that the Shadow Shaman and the Bristleback here are in the lane, it's going to be a dual lane, you can't really go aggressive with the Void on your team. So you really shouldn't run around the back like this. You should just come back into the lane and sit comfortably somewhere here behind the Void. The Void, when you go in, thinks you're going to come in and take first blood, so he goes in and you're not there to lift to cancel the shackle. Admittedly, it is his fault for coming back in to try and get this first blood. You're never going to kill this Bristleback. But yeah, that was a bit of a mistake. You should always kind of sit back and see what lane you're up against before you go running. Overall though, I think you did pretty well in the lane. After the first blood, you managed to sit back, get the Void, some farm, and just harass the Shadow Shaman every now and then. Obviously you can't harass the Bristleback out of the lane, but I think you did pretty well in holding them off and securing the Void some farm. So I think one of your major problems in the game is positioning in teamfights and tower pushes as well. For example, when you're pushing this tower, your entire team gets extremely clustered. And they do have an Enigma, but even a Ricky Cloud Smoke like this one silences 3 people because people are so clustered. If we go back a minute, if you're standing up here as a support, or even down here, you can really easily counter-initiate with a telekinesis and stun a few people, saving your team. So one thing I want you to be aware of is when you lift someone with telekinesis, obviously you have the stun, AoE stun when you put them back down. So there's a few examples, and this is one of them, where you really should have lifted this bristle and threw him in this box here. It would have stunned 3 people. That was just one of the times where you could have utilized this skill quite a bit better. So this bit really wasn't entirely your mistake, it's just something you could pick up on. So your Talbot is solo pushing against 5 people right now that are alive. Instead of joining him, you should be down here placing the wards. You don't have a lot of map vision right now. Obviously you do manage to get out with your lives, both of you, which is a bit lucky. But yeah, you should really not be going up with him and instead just dropping back, covering the areas you need to cover as a support, which is warding when you have the time. So this is another example of just pro positioning on a tower push. You can actually see this alch with this ward up here, but you choose to come in at quite a bad angle and just be right clicking the tower. Instead you should come down here and just be attacking from there, or even just stand a bit further back here. So this is another clip. Right now you're pushing this tower, and you got a good lift in the bristle because he comes too far in. You throw all your spells on him, but for some reason you decide to dive tower to right click him. Like, your right click isn't much, you should be way back here like the Ogre Magi. He backs off and knows his limitations. Unfortunately you stay a bit too long and you get stunned and killed off. A bit of a mistake, as I said. You should just go with the Ogre Magi, stay with your fellow support. But this fight didn't start too well. You accidentally walked into Chrono, which is a bit of a mistake, but you obviously know that. This is again a bit of an issue with teamfight positioning. You throw all your spells, you have 1 lift off cooldown, so you use that, but right now you should not be standing there right clicking, you should be backing off. You may not even want to have thrown that lift in. You had her off cooldown, but you could have distanced yourself a bit further back, gone uphill, use the telekinesis if someone followed, and then continue to use spells. Another issue I had was with your skill build. You maxed null field over telekinesis. All their damage pretty much was going to be from the Alchemist and the Rikimaru. You might get caught in a black hole and killed off, but there's not a lot you could do about that. Telekinesis, the extra stun duration and the range is a lot better than skilling null field. The unhammered skill null field would be if there was something like a Skyrath or a Tinker that was completely destroying me in team fights, but in this game, null field was not the right choice. So this was a move that I very much disagreed with. You have a Force Staff, and it's really great for saving yourself or an ally as a support. Unfortunately, you use it here to get a little bit further into the fight. The fight hadn't actually properly even started yet. You get stunned here by the Alchemist, and if this Force Staff was off cooldown, you could easily Force Staff yourself up here and rejoin the fight. Is a pretty big mistake. Kind of really shows the mistakes you make in positioning in fights. You spot the Alchemist, you got a great ward on the high ground, you steal the stun, you lift him, but there is no reason for you to go back in here. You just walk in, he gets the free stun on you, and he gets to kill you off. Instead, you should just take that stun, back off, come back in, and throw your spells from a range that's safe. So I think the major points you have to work on are your positioning in teamfights and in tower pushes as well. Other than that, I think you had a pretty strong laning phase. There was a slight mistake, a bit of miscommunication between you and the Void in the beginning. But overall, you got in the farm. The ward's coverage dropped off quite a bit late game, but you were winning quite a bit, so there wasn't a massive need for them. But other than that, it was pretty good, so GG, well played.